Hello, friends. Welcome back. My name is Charlotte Patmore. I am Vote for Patmore on the internet, and this is my podcast. So, today I'm going to talk about Hey World, which is a short film that I made with King Krule, aka Archie, aka my daughter's father, and also, I guess, my ex boyfriend. Maybe I don't need to acknowledge that, but I think it's important to. When we made this film, I was pregnant with our daughter, and then the second half was just after she was born. So I'm going to talk about the film, like how it was made, but I'm also going to talk a lot about pregnancy and matrescence, like the process of becoming a mother, becoming a parent, and the kind of metamorphosis that I went through whilst making the film. This episode is a little bit different as I'm basically going to rewatch it and then make comments about the film, and then obviously go off on tangents. So this one, I'm going to put a video with it. You should be able to see a video with it so you can see what I'm talking about. If you are just listening, hopefully it still makes sense. Maybe it's worthwhile going to watch the film so the references make sense, but I think what I'm talking about around it is still probably interesting without the visuals, but it might be a bit more enjoyable if you've seen the visuals. Yeah. So this one's a little bit different, but let's see how it goes. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so let me set the scene. It's 2018/19, all pre-pandemic though. I think this is potentially like the last piece of art that we properly made together. So this is also really interesting because it's art we made while we were together and also while Marina was literally growing inside of me and like the really, really early days when she was born. And because I'd moved back up north for the end of my maternity leave, we were living in this like little cottage that was surrounded by fields, but it meant that all of the filming locations that we used were really significant to me, and all my favorite places that I like to go in the north and are also like places where I did a lot of photo shoots when I was starting out, like figuring out that I wanted to do photography. Yeah. And the locations are like where I would go and take like awful Tumblr Flickr style photographs. So this was actually really special to get to make a film that is set in all of these places that are really, really significant and important to me. Okay, let's have a look. I do like the beginning, like with the pylons. Makes me so happy. Okay, so the first song, first of all, the title cards, Archie hand wrote them on actual cardboard that we painted. But what I think is interesting about the cardboard is that basically because I was pretty heavily pregnant at this point, we had got like the car seat and the pram and like all of this baby stuff. And it all obviously is in like cardboard boxes. So the house was full of cardboard boxes. And we were painting all of the cardboard and doing lots of like little mini short films that nobody ever saw. and lots of them included like painted cardboard. But yeah, so all of the title cards in this, the painted cardboard is actually like pram boxes or like a cot box. It's all baby stuff. What is really annoying is with film negatives, I keep all my negatives. I have like huge archive, like boxes and boxes with like every photo I've ever taken. I keep all of them, like the physical negatives. But for some reason with the tapes, like the high 8, we had this very like, there's this practice of, I think that just at the time it was actually just really difficult to source them maybe. But basically we just had like free tapes in circulation and we would record on the tapes, like download it onto the computer, and then we would just record over the tapes. And we don't have any of the tapes. Like I can't re-import it to the computer higher resolution, which is, frustrating, but maybe that's what makes it like, that adds to the aesthetic. This was our garden and it was surrounded by fields, these like huge fields, and obviously it was snowing. We had this plan to record this song like sat there, like this shot. I have loads and loads of test takes. Like this was the one that we were testing loads, and there was loads of takes like in the sunset and at night, and then obviously with the snow. This one, this is interesting as well because obviously you can see that the snow is melting, like it snowed, and then it stopped, and we were kind of like, we just have to get the shot right now. And I was really pregnant and like I couldn't like stand up really quickly. And so the like you can see in the film, basically he who plays the song, and then when he wants me to stand up to like pan away, he whistles. And the shot is really like janky because I'm so pregnant that I can't just like stand up out of the chair. I kind of come up in this weird movement and then do it. And like I shouldn't really be drawing attention to it, to be honest, but I actually quite like it because I was really pregnant, and it's kind of nice that this film is kind of touched by that and by like kind of like the process of becoming a parent, and also like that my body was physically impacted by pregnancy, obviously. And like I was way heavier, like it was hard to stand up. I was really heavy, and yeah, that's why the shot is kind of strange. Maybe you never even noticed it. I'm just gonna watch it and see. And then we were like, oh, it'll be so good. They're like running off into the distance, even though you, because it's on the tape, you kind of can't quite take in how incredible, like how foggy it was. The next one is the power station, the power plant. I don't know what it's actually called. So the power plant is in Warrington. I think they knocked it down or blew it up, so it doesn't exist anymore. Like the Simpsons energy of it all. But this was just like a huge signifier. It feels really like northern, and also when you're on the train and you see it, there's something really nostalgic about being like, oh, we're like up north now, or we're like in Warrington. I don't know. It's just the expansion of the space, isn't it? Like all of these spaces are really expansive and almost like liminal, and it's interesting that they all have this kind of like dream, like strange, even like other planet vibe, like otherworldly energy, especially when like we ourselves were going through like a liminal phase and like a change. And especially like me in particular, growing a human and giving birth, my whole reality was changing all around me. And maybe is like really reflected in this. It also is really nice that it's all of these spaces that hold a lot of value to me. So, in all of the BTS footage, I'm wearing her in a carrier, Archie's carrying her, or she's just kind of like about. She's kind of like part of the DNA of the film too, which I never really considered as we were making it, or even before I went back and looked at it. But I think it's quite nice actually that she's intertwined throughout the entire film. This one, Marina was born because in the like extra footage, sometimes you can hear her on the video while we're trying to do like test shots. I think it's interesting because like when it was happening, I didn't really know anyone who had had a kid. Like my younger brother had, but other than him, like none of my friends had kids, and it just wasn't an experience that like anyone had had. We just had no context for like what it's supposed to be like or what the transition would feel like. And definitely at the beginning, I really believed that like nothing would change and that everything could stay the same. And while we were, I guess when we were making this film, this was a bit easier because it was us doing it together. And so the difficulties of having to do it around a child were like lightened by the client, or the pressure was also just like us. And there wasn't kind of like outside forces or pressure on the situation. When Marina was really little, I used to take her to like all of my shoots, and sometimes that went really well, and sometimes it was a disaster because you can't control, obviously, what a child needs in that moment, and the kind of demands of a photo shoot or a music video and the like needs and requirements of a child like often don't really mesh. And I kind of did believe that there would be like fluidity for it to sit side by side, but it was really difficult to merge. Yeah, and it's interesting, honestly, in this scenario, if we needed to stop and I needed to feed her for like half an hour, we could. And like the only time restraints on us were most of the shots around like a sunrise or a sunset, which did mean that we were on a time limit on when we could get the shot, but we could just go back the next day and try again. The birds. Okay, so this is like the actual bit. So like this shot, I can put in like some of the BTS because this shot again is like very expansive. He's so small in comparison, and you can see all of the space. There's lots of like different shots where he's a lot closer and it doesn't feel as expansive. I remember it being so cold. It was like really cold. He was really cold. And we'd got like my family to watch Marina for maybe like an hour or something. She was so little and she needed feeding all the time. I was breastfeeding and we didn't have very long basically that we could be away from her. But the light is my car headlights. And then Archie set up the audio so we could record the live recording. And then we just recorded it as many times as possible before it went dark. I actually quite like how simple it is. And it really is like a little love letter to the north. And there's all the moons. Whenever we saw the moon, we'd always record it. So there's like so many different moon phases and the different colours. All those shots, that's like whatever colour the moon actually was in the camera, which is nice. The next bit, that's an Adventure Time reference because I watch Adventure Time all the time, but especially when I was pregnant, I just needed to watch Adventure Time at all times to just be okay. And this one's interesting because it was filmed on bonfire night. So again, it was freezing and it's filmed in the same place that the first one is filmed, like in the garden. But you can see all of the fireworks in the background. And I think in the shots, I don't know if in this shot that we use you can see them that often. They just look like little sparkly lights. But there are outtakes where huge fireworks go off in the background, but he isn't playing the song. But I think in the sound you can hear them, the crackling of them. I feel like it looks really magical. I think it's cool. And it's just lit with one light. And I'm like, the tripod is outside. And I'm kind of sat like half inside, half outside. And Marina's like inside in like a baby seat thing. Like, I'm doing both while this is happening. And then the next bit is at Crosby Beach. So Crosby and Formby beaches are like Merseyside beaches, which are both really significant places to me. But Crosby Beach is really cool because it has the Anthony Gormley kind of like exhibition in it. So he made all of those statues of men, and the beach is like covered in these statues of men, and they're all at like different heights or like different depths in the sand. And it has like quite a haunting vibe. I don't even know if we used any of that like actually in the footage because maybe it's a bit like too cliche, but Crosby has this like sci-fi feel to it. It also has like the building that looks kind of like a spaceship. That's the swimming pool, and I used to go swimming there every week. And it's like such a great place to swim because you can see the beach and you can see like if it's a beautiful day, it has this like huge panoramic glass window so you can see like all the sunshine coming in. But if it's like a really moody, windy, stormy day, that's like also really comforting. And yeah, I don't know, I really like aesthetically pleasing swimming pools. Like swimming is one of my favorite things to do, but doing it in a space that also enhances the experience. Like I feel a lot calmer when the space feels like beautiful. So that is like the weird kind of like spaceship looking building, which also is like cool that it's like my swimming pool. And it kind of looks like Mars a bit. It feels like this like derelict wasteland. I think like me and Archie like to reference lots of like old American films and like Badlands and just like that walking across like a huge empty space. We ate that up like every film that we've done, or like when we're just like there's a giant open space that feels like nobody lives there, like incredible to walk across. And then the last one is him playing in the sunset on Crosby. And this one, I think maybe Marina was in the carrier. while it was being filmed, or maybe somebody else was like wearing her just while I filmed it. And the light is like an LED, just like a small LED light that I literally held the whole time in my hand. So at the end, when it goes off, I just actually pull my hand away for it to go dark to the silhouette, which is nice. The main thing that people ask me is what was it shot on? It was shot on Hi8. It was shot on like a Sony handheld. All of the sound recordings are live recordings in the actual spaces. Archie did all of the sound himself, and I edited and graded it all. I wonder if I could find the storyboard. I don't know if I definitely have storyboards from like other films. Whilst I was pregnant, we made lots of films. At the end, when I stopped working, we were just kind of making all these like weird short films. So I do have lots of storyboards from those. I don't know if there's like the ones from this, but the like footage that we didn't use is interesting. Yeah. Afterwards, I got asked to make a lot of music videos, and I said no to like all of them, which maybe I shouldn't have been saying no to them, but at that point, I really wanted to make music videos that were like heavily inspired by video games, or like resembled video games, or had this kind of weird high fantasy videos, and nobody wanted me to do that. I would still want them to be cinematic and feel and have like a texture to them over like a really clean aesthetic. It's not really my vibe. Everyone wanted me to make these like very lo-fi films, like exactly like this film. And I actually found it really frustrating because no one really trusted me to do something different. And it's an interesting thing to consider. On the Abbey Road podcast, me and Katie talk about it a lot, about if you want to be a photographer or like an image maker, like defining your niche and your style, and like figuring out like who you are and like what your creative language is. And then something that is difficult with that is once it's set, it's quite hard to change it or go against it, because people like trust you to make that one thing. And that obviously is amazing if people trust you to do that thing that you're really good at. But sometimes it makes me sad that there's not a lot of diversity or like room to experiment once your kind of aesthetic is set. But I think the things that I like about the film are more that it really was so personal, like really vulnerable. And maybe that does really translate even in the softness and the calmness of it. I could do a separate episode expanding on kind of that transition into becoming a parent and into matrescence, and how that impacted my career, because people do ask me about that a lot, and it is really important to talk about, I think, and like shine awareness and understanding on. And we have come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining me. I hope that the ramble was rambling. Thank you to Connor Schofield for the music, and to Poppy Marriott for the artwork. I hope you have the most beautiful day, and that you see something that brings you joy. See you next time.